All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to AHMPI Dialogues for the Association of Healthcare Marketers of India. My name is Dr. Lakshmi Vaswani, and I'm so glad to be on the interviewing side of the table today. Um, this session, I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. Our guest today is someone I've been wanting to have this conversation with. Dr. Satabdi Saha is a pediatric dentist by training, a medical writer, a healthcare communications consultant, and an editor by practice. And more importantly, she's a mentor by calling. She's written across formats, blogs, white papers, technical content, and she's currently the assistant executive editor at the Dental Tribune of South Asia. She lives in Uttarakhand, and she describes herself as a free soul and who doesn't fit in a box. And I think that's exactly why this conversation is going to be so very interesting. On behalf of the whole team at AHMP India, Dr. Shatabdi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakshmi, and thank you so much for having me, inviting me on this prestigious platform. And I'm so glad to be the first guest.
Yes, definitely. Um, so I'm going to start with a question that I'm sure that you've been asked hundreds of times before. I definitely have been asked this every time I introduce myself. Why did you leave clinical practice? You're an MDS, super specialist with so many clinical hours, so many hours of clinical training and education, and all of that. So, what was the trigger for you to leave practice?
Yes, absolutely. So, Dr. Lakshmi, I cannot point out one particular trigger, but one thing I have always had was the love for reading, writing, and researching. So, this was something that I inculcated even when I was a child,
Yeah,
and something that I had lost touch with because, of course, growing up, you become busy with your careers.
yeah.
So I had to become a doctor, so I had to do my graduation, post graduation around 10 to 12 years that goes into doing all these things, and
Yeah,
that is the prime time of your productivity.
correct.
So after doing that, the first wave of COVID hit in 2019, and that was the year that I graduated.
Uh,
So my post graduation, yes.
yeah,
So just after post graduating, clinics were shut, hospitals were shut. So I had a lot of time to myself,
yeah,
and I was looking for ways to make myself productive once again. And that was when a cousin of mine, she writes like fiction, stories, essays, all these kind of things. And she knew that I had a knack for writing.
hmm,
So she said that, do you know about medical writing, scientific writing? Have you heard about it? And I said, no. And then she said that, okay, you just Google out, search out, and you
yes,
might find it interesting. So that
right.
was how I started off
Yeah,
searching and then landing an internship,
yeah,
applying and landing an internship. And throughout all these, I was continuing my clinical practice.
hmm,
Then
okay,
I got married in 2021, and
yeah,
I shifted from West Bengal to Uttarakhand.
wow,
So again, I had to leave behind all of my hospitals and clinical practice and everything and move. So
uh,
this time when I moved, again I had to start from scratch. So I was a consultant with a dental clinic, and you will not believe me, they were paying me a very, very, I cannot even quote it, so less
hmm,
amount of money, even after doing my post graduation. So that
yeah,
was when I realized that medical writing was something that if I gave it time and energy, it would pay me back in the long run.
right,
So again, I was doing both side by side, and after doing it for quite some time, when I realized that okay, I could give this a full time shot,
yeah,
that was when I decided that okay, let me just stop my practice for a while and see what happens. And
right.
it's been around 5 years now. I'm still seeing what's
Absolutely.
happening and continuing doing my work as a medical writer.
Of course. And so when you write, like we all know the very different types of formats that include this entire range that we call medical communications and healthcare marketing. It's such a huge, spectrum. But do you find yourself, writing more fiction-based things, more, stories and essays? Do you find yourself going that creative route once again? Or is it just your medical writing?
So mostly now it is medical writing because that's my work. So
Yeah.
even when I am reading or I am, researching on something, it's mostly around medical papers,
Yeah.
some clinical trials,
Mm.
some new medical devices, products that have come up, guidelines. So, regarding all of these, but once in a while, I actually love reading fiction. So, once
Yeah.
in a while, I get lost in my own world. And you
Yeah.
might find glimpses of my travel journeys or my introspection stories or my lived experiences,
Right.
on my Medium platform.
Mm.
So I create these long form kind of stories, whatever is in my heart, kind of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stories over there, but it's rare. It's not
Okay.
that regular. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I would think that it is. And do you find it like almost, does it help you with your medical writing in some way to have this creative outlet on the side? Is it something that, because I always encourage it, I encourage people to look beyond just medical and healthcare. You get consumed by the brands around you, you get consumed by only one way of thinking, and I think that at the end of the day that reflects in your work, because saying, maybe I always say that we need to keep our creative side kind of active. I'm a big proponent of that. So do you feel that it helps you both ways, like with your
Yes.
medical writing as well?
Yes. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
otherwise, I don't know where you get ideas from.
Mm,
Fiction is one of the biggest ways to get ideas, to
yeah,
introspect, to
yes,
learn,
yes,
even though they might be in the form of third person stories, but the learnings that we get from there, they are
yeah,
actually a kind of real life experiences, right? So I read a lot of fiction, like I said, and I
yeah,
encourage everyone to
yeah,
read a lot, not only
yeah,
these self help, self improvement, or our niche medical writing books, but also a lot of fiction, poems,
yeah,
whatever. I even read graphic novels. I don't know if
yeah,
that's, yeah, I
yeah,
read a
yeah.
lot of graphic novels and I really enjoy them.
Yeah, I read a lot of Japanese ones, the manga, which goes, the other way. I find them fascinating. So completely get it. That's amazing. So, can you like I'm sure like our audience in AHMP is very diverse. We have people who have been in hospital marketing for a very long time, in healthcare marketing, maybe on the brand side, agency side, and we have young people who are coming in, young management graduates, management graduates who are coming into a healthcare field where they know they want to do something with healthcare, and they want to explore medcoms and med marketing as one of the options that they can get into. So, as like a young writer or a young marketer walks into this minefield that we call our profession now, can you walk them through what you do and what your day looks like, what you're working on at the moment? How does it work for you?
Yes, so I am a remote person. So I work remotely from the comfort of my home. But I work on my own hours, and sometimes if we have deadlines hanging and multiple projects going on, then I schedule my days
Yeah,
so that I take up the biggest and most important projects which I need to finish off first and then move ahead to the rest.
right,
So right now I am working on a CME project.
right.
It's for health education group of companies
Mm-hmm.
who have this e-learning platform,
Mm.
and their main target audience is basically MBBS doctors and
Yeah,
specialist doctors.
yeah,
And we are preparing a kind of e-module, CME e-module on different like clinical medicine and other therapeutic areas for that particular company. So these
yeah,
are very exhaustive and lengthy modules. So it's taking
yeah,
most of my day right now. But
right.
yes.
Yeah, but that's also a really interesting part of medical writing, which not many people talk about, because they at some point of time we veer very heavily into marketing. So we veer sometimes very heavily into the B2C space, where we are always talking about maybe ads, social media, website content, pharma marketing, the leave behind literatures, the fancy campaigns, the creative campaigns, sometimes the superstars there, and you get to write a tagline. And I think there's a misconception that there's only that way of medical writing or that avenue of medical writing, but there is a more grounded aspect of medical writing and medical communications that is very clinical, that is actually very B2B and HCP facing, where you are writing for a clinical audience, and that is also part of your medical communications
Yes.
sphere, right? So I think that's a really important element of our profession that I purport to tell a lot of the younger marketers who are coming up, and a lot of the young doctors who are looking to navigate this field. You already have the clinical training in the background to at least have, like you said, MBBS doctors, what they would feel is appropriate for their level of education. You can help out with those kind of materials. There is a market for that as well in education, right? So
Yes,
uh,
yes. True. So, Dr. Lakshmi, I would like to add one thing over here. So, a lot of projects that we work upon,
yeah.
I think you will also resonate with this. They actually overlap. The
Hmm.
educational content, the promotional content, kind of overlaps when we are working with the same client, and this happens because of the product life cycle that we have. So it
Hmm.
goes through different phases, and across different phases, we as medical writers, medical marketeers,
Yeah.
we need to provide different kind of assets.
Correct.
And when we call ourselves medical writers, we cannot make ourselves or keep ourselves specific to only certain kind of projects.
Hmm.
So if we don't understand what promotional literature is, how to create a story arc, how to create a leave behind literature, if we don't know about it, I would suggest please explore resources, ask your clients,
Hmm.
take a course, learn about it, because once we start restricting ourselves to a particular area, we actually start losing out on interesting opportunities.
Yes, agreed. Agreed very, very much. A lot of, I think the new formats that I've never heard of before, I managed to, I think instead of saying no, I'll say, okay, can you give me a sample? Can I look at it and, maybe and learn from the sample and see, okay, this is my end goal, this is my end deliverable. How do
Yes.
I work towards it?
Yes. True.
And I think that's the best way to learn because you're never, I think the courses, yes, but that one-on-one hands-on getting your hands dirty experience. And I know we've discussed this, your first draft is always the worst draft, so then we need to, you learn with reviewer comments, you learn to kind of improve the format, like you said, that we've never explored before, so we need to look at different formats as the years go by and as the time goes by. But we know that your clinical training obviously has a huge impact on how you assimilate information, how you're able to reproduce that information for your clients, of course, and they're depending a lot on the education that you've had. Um, is there any time at which you feel like your clinical training has actually been hampering to your medical communication skill? Is there any point at which you say, "Oh God, I have to really unlearn this because this is in my habit and I need to get over it."
Yes. So I will share one example when I felt that because I had that clinical background, I could write this or I could do this. And one example when I felt that, okay, this might be something that I need to filter out from my system. Okay.
Yeah.
So, firstly, when we are working on so I was working on an oral health series of articles
Yeah.
related to oral health, and they wanted a subject matter expert.
Got it.
So, not only a writer, but they were looking for people who have been a dental surgeon,
Yeah.
who have that training, who has that training, and they reached
Yeah.
out, and I quoted a much higher amount of money,
Yeah.
and they agreed. So I
Yeah.
did not realize why they agreed. Later, I realized they agreed because they wanted my first-hand clinical experiences, those lived experiences they wanted into that article, which
Mm.
nobody else could bring. So that is, I think, one of the best things that our academic background has given us, even
Correct.
if we have moved into medical writing.
Correct.
And the next thing is something that has hampered, not hampered, but something that I had to unlearn over the years was the technical language.
Hmm.
So we are so tuned to, use technical language. Even when patients come visit us, we are just like, okay, you do this 2 times a day and you do that 2 times a day. This is your prescription. You take that and it's done. We never
Correct.
realize that the person who is on the other side, they need
Yeah.
to hear that 2 to 3 times to actually make sense of what I just said.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe
Exactly.
they will go back and again Google out something which they did not understand.
Correct.
So that
Correct.
was something when I moved into medical communications, I realized that I had to unlearn that technical language. I had
Hmm.
to put myself into the shoes of the people for whom I'm writing. If I'm
Hmm.
writing for laymen, if I'm writing for patients, caregivers, I need to put myself into their shoes
Yeah.
and then start creating a draft.
Hmm. Hmm. That's actually a really good point, and something that I found myself also quite struggling with because I remember when I used to sit for my first interviews with potential clients, your first discovery calls, and they ask you, are you comfortable with B2B writing and technical writing? I was like, yeah, that will come in 2 minutes to me. I'm not even concerned about that. And in fact, it used to be the B2C articles and the patient facing articles that used to stress me out because I'm like, this is more work for me. This is something that I need to, it's outside of my comfort zone. I need to put myself in my patient's shoes. I need to think about the campaign from their point of view, what information they're getting from their point of view, and try and make it simple enough for them to understand while not being overly simplistic. I find
Yes,
that that balance is very important because sometimes we baby them too much in the content. We end up, writing, and we have an educated patient base right now in India. We have a very
yes,
educated, very online aware patient base for even hospitals. When I'm talking specifically about, maybe even when you're a healthcare brand, whether you're in digital health tech, you're a hospital, you're a pharma brand, your audience right now is not simplistic. You don't
they
have
are
to
informed.
speak out. Yeah, they're informed, they're 100% informed, they're online, they're aware of trends, they're aware of, you don't have to baby them anymore. You
Yes,
can hope to, elevate your content to meet that intellect, I think,
yes,
which um, and in any medium. I'm not only talking about English, I'm talking about in any language that you want to disperse your information. You can do it in a more elevated way because you will find an audience for it. But like at the same time, do you find that if you're working on a campaign maybe for a healthcare brand, do you find that they tend to not be very creative or tend to stay play it safe? Like, have you had experiences? Because do you feel like they you try and give them a creative solution, you try and give them something that the
mhm,
patient like, and you say, from my point of view, from the people I've spoken to, this is kind of the angle that would work, and they say, no, no, it's too out there, maybe we won't do it, and they stay
yes.
the course, yeah.
Yes, this has happened. So I have like both the spectrum of experiences. I have had instances when my ideas were out and out rejected, and I
Yes.
have had instances where because we were working from the very inception, so
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
starting point. So if
Yeah.
there were only one content writer, medical writer, that was me. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was a startup like that. So because we were working from the inception, so we had created a kind of bond with them. I had
Yeah.
created a kind of bond with them, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was one place where all my ideas were
Hmm.
taken into account. They were given some kind of importance.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's good to realize that not all ideas will fit
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
different aspects of the
Yeah.
creative team or what they have in their mind when they are launching something or when they are campaigning about something. That's
Right.
fine. I don't essentially see myself as a hardcore strategist.
Yes.
So I am more, yes, I will strategize, but more of I can follow briefs also. So I can be
Yeah.
both. I can follow briefs, and if needed I can strategize. So
Yeah.
I keep that balance.
Lovely. Yeah. That's good. That's a good overlay, like a good approach to having the best of both worlds, right? So it's good. Yeah. So now I know that you are, of course, a medical writer and everything, but also an editor. And as a writer myself, and I don't do editing work, I very rarely take on editing work because I think that's a skill that is so important for a writer to obviously take the feedback, and I've had amazing editors who have really, managed to bring a piece to life, but I've also had editors who have managed to shrink my self-confidence down to this much. So as from the other side, when you're seeing things from another point, from opposite the writer's desk, essentially, what are you looking for? Like, what is your process when you're editing your pieces and when you're reviewing things, and what things in a campaign stand out to you as best practices, and what are your benchmarks for evaluation? Like, how do you go about it?
Okay, so a lot of questions over here,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I'll just try to catch one at a time. So, firstly, like I have been on the writing table also, and I have been on the editorial table also. So,
Yeah.
one thing I would want to tell everybody who is watching this, editing is also a creative muscle. Just like in our last conversation, Dr. Lakshmi had pointed out that writing is of course a creative muscle. We are not born with it, right? So editing is also a creative muscle. The thing is, when we are writers, we self edit our articles, right? That
Yeah.
is the first step. The
Yeah.
second step is it goes to a set of editors.
Hmm.
They can be reviewers, fact checkers, quality analysts, a group, a team, or an individual editor, right?
Yes.
And when we work with editors as writers ourselves, we understand their editorial process, that okay, this is what she wants and this is why she wants it. So
Correct.
if we not always concentrate on what that person is saying, and if we try to understand the intent behind why she is saying what she is saying, why
Yes.
does she want this change,
Yes.
why did she edit or absolutely omit this paragraph from my article,
Right.
if we understand the intent, then we realize why she did it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we begin, taking feedbacks can feel personal,
Mm-hmm.
but with time we realize that it's never about you, it's always about your work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that is the first thing. The second thing is good writers can become great editors
Okay.
only if you have a knack for editing.
Mm. Yeah.
So, like I know people who have started off as editors and then moved into being writers. And I
Okay.
have known people who, just like me, we have started as writers and we write now also and we edit also.
Got
So
it.
the thing is, if you have a knack for something, you will eventually find a way to it.
Yeah.
That is the final truth. And the third thing is what I look for when I am editing a piece. So, first of all, I just don't give any vague edits. Even
Mm.
in my workshops, even with my students, what I do is if I am suggesting something, I will tell them why I am suggesting what I am
Mm.
suggesting,
Mm-hmm.
how it improves their draft,
Yeah.
or how it changes their draft, or how it aligns their draft with the brief that I had shared. Essentially, I will always share a brief. I don't work
Right.
without briefs. Okay.
Right.
So I will always share a brief because that makes the writer's work 50% easier if we
Yes.
have a clear brief in front of us, right? Now, if their first thing is they should follow the brief. If you are
Yeah.
asking me one, two, three, what I look for, so the first thing is follow the brief 100%. That is
Yeah.
your first job as a medical writer. Okay,
Yes.
one thing goes here and there, and I will notice it. Okay,
Mm.
and
Mm.
the second thing is if I am giving you some feedback, you need to understand that there are certain reasons why I am giving you the feedback. And
Yeah.
I need that revised draft before and after. Not only for myself, but I also want it for you to see what changes you have made and how it has improved or completely transformed your draft. You need to
Got it.
see that at least once to
Mm.
understand why I am doing the edits.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the third thing is you need to follow deadlines. So
Mm.
editors are very strict with the deadlines. I have
Yeah.
worked with very strict editors in my life, like you said, who
Yeah.
has like taken the life out of us. But
Yes. Yeah.
again, the benefit of working with these kind of people are you develop a kind of discipline for your life.
Yeah.
which you cannot undo, right? And when you work with people going ahead, when you sit in that editor's desk, that is the kind of discipline that you also want.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I would say I am a kind of a strict editor,
Mhm.
but if you ask my students, I think they don't hate me for it. So,
Yeah, I find it hard for anyone to hate you when you're giving such an explanation for everything. I think then that's really important because I think if you've been on the writing side or on the creative side, whether you're writing an email or whether you're writing like a 3,000 word blog, right, or a paper, when you've been on the writing end of it, you every piece of content that you create almost feels like very dear and very personal to you. So when someone is making that change, I feel like I want to know why. Like, why did you
yes,
think this is a better version of
true.
of my draft? And I think that's really important because some editors don't, maybe they don't
Yes,
explain themselves. So then we end up being more defensive and more like, why did they do this? Yeah,
yes,
but
true, true.
taking feedback in any aspect, I feel,
Easy.
especially in marketing overall, whether you're in a hospital, in a brand, in an agency, I keep coming back to this because our audience is going to be from varied backgrounds. At any point of time, when you're putting a campaign out there, you have to be ready for good feedback and bad feedback, and you can never
Yes,
keep everyone happy. It's just not
yes,
going to happen. The way that the rounds of reviews are happening, you can pass it on and your head of department or your marketing manager or your CMO can approve it. But eventually, someone in the company may not like it, or when you put it on social media, you may not get the response or the views or anything that you want, and you're like, oh God, this is like a fail. And you have to learn to take those criticisms. You need to learn to take a step back
yes,
and understand where you
yes,
went wrong. So
yes,
overall, I think this can be very humbling, especially when you're starting out, when you're learning the ropes. And I think good editors make that learning much faster. You're able
yes,
to, grasp onto that and learn much faster.
yes.
Um, so now I really want to touch upon something that I found very fascinating in your journey, and uniquely you, I must say. And because when I talk to younger writers and they reach out to me on LinkedIn or on any of the social media platforms, you know, they talk about like an active mentoring and an active taking you through the ropes of our industry. And I understand it from a medical point of view, and I'm sure anyone who's been in any sort of medical training knows this. We have a slogan which says, you see one, you do one, and you teach one. We've heard it from our seniors. That's how most of us have learned, especially when you're on the job, like a dentistry or a dental surgeon. Of course, it's part of how we learn from our seniors. And I understood it, and I tried my best to get, to talk to the younger writers and say, yeah, this is my experience from it. But I never thought to make it a structured thing. So when I saw your profile and I saw the work that you're doing actively as a mentorship, what made you decide that this is going to be a contribution to the industry, because it's such an important contribution to the industry? So was there a trigger, was there a story?
Yes, there is a story. Firstly, even before we started doing these workshops, I was already in touch with junior writers,
Yeah.
dental surgeons, MBBS graduates, pharmacists, Ayurvedic physicians, PhD, biotechnology people, so all these people I was already in touch with, and I was already sharing my stories with them. And if they wanted any kind of guidance, and if I was capable of doing that, I would get on calls with them. I
Mm,
would have one-on-one sessions with them.
mm,
And it's like I was already doing this after 2 to 3 years of my being in this industry, just
correct.
out of curiosity. Like, mentorship was not something that I had ever planned. These
Correct.
workshops, these whatever is we are doing right now, it was never planned, and it started as one of things often, and then I started getting requests
Mm,
that it's getting difficult. because of course they don't have time, you don't have time, so it gets difficult, kind of haphazard. So I
Right.
started getting requests that if you could put everything into one place and we can attend it, we can learn from it. So even after that, I was not very confident if I would really be able to help people out there, because I didn't know I had something worth in me, that they could learn from.
Hmm.
But I took the step. I started with the beginners workshop, and I still remember the first cohort, the batch that we
Right.
had,
Yeah.
and they were all from my network of dentists and MBBS graduates. So I was already in touch with them. No new person, but I
Yeah.
was so anxious. I was so kind of uh, because
Yeah.
I did not know what I would say, whether they would be able to make sense out of it. So
Right.
it started in that way, and
Yeah.
I have been getting good feedbacks. And then I planned the advanced medical writing workshop after 1 year of going through the doing the beginners workshops, because again I started getting requests that Dr. Shatabdi, this is fine, this is the foundational level, but now what, we need to learn
Now.
in depth. Yes,
Yes.
so can you build something around that? So then I started building this advanced workshop. So every all the workshops, mentoring sessions that you see, all of them has been kind of a result of requests, or I would say nudges from my network.
Yeah. That's lovely. I think that's when you know that you're creating an active impact in your community, and a community that you've managed to build online majorly. As you said, uh, in your home, and this online community that you've managed to build, and impacting so many lives, like along the way. Because I've realized that people do take what we say quite seriously, because they see a position that, so I don't take that responsibility lightly. So it is so amazing to have that kind of impact, and at least from a writer in the same community. Anytime anyone's asked me for this, more structured approach of, like, just check out Dr. Shatabdi's profile, you'll figure it out. So that has been reassuring for us, that we have somebody that we can point to and say, here's your go-to. She'll help you out. But
Thank you so much.
is there something that, when you're mentoring the young writers, and maybe people, and they may not be younger than you, like chronologically they may not be younger than you, correct? So they may
Most.
sometimes have, most of them are not. So if most of them are, years ahead of you, I find it still intimidating, because you are talking to people who are older than you, but you have a skill that they don't have, right? So, have you ever, like, did it take you a long time to fill those rooms and say, I know I'm young, but I've done something that's unique. I've switched professions. I have this as a background. I also have trained in this. So what I'm saying, my opinion holds weight.
Yes, yes. So you have asked something that I have always wanted to answer, but nobody asked me. Really. So the thing is, Dr. Lakshmi, I never had to, enter a room and say that you can take this workshop because you can trust me because I have done this. Because much before that, I had started building my authority on
Hmm.
platforms,
Hmm.
especially on LinkedIn. So my till now, my go-to platform is LinkedIn. You will find me on YouTube also. Recently, I started a channel, but mostly I am a LinkedIn person, and I have been on LinkedIn since 2021, 2021, 2022. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I have never really stopped.
Right.
So, except for maybe 1 month, 1.5 months, 2 months maximum, I have never really stopped. And I don't know how people fall short of ideas to post on LinkedIn. I am so always full of ideas to post on LinkedIn. I don't know how, but
Yeah.
that's how it has been, and that exactly has kind of helped me to not never I never had the opportunity to introduce myself and sell any workshop or mentoring session or anything. I never had to do
Hmm.
that. I think a
Yeah.
big part of it was because of the lovely people on
Hmm.
LinkedIn,
Yeah.
uh, who blindly trust in me.
Yeah.
and who know that if Dr. Shatabdi is doing something, it
Yeah.
might help us out.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
yes,
Yeah. I agree with you on all things LinkedIn, because I wouldn't be here also as and have the client base that I have right now
yes,
without LinkedIn. For that matter, AHMP would not have reached out to me if they didn't see my
absolutely,
LinkedIn profile. So I would
absolutely,
not have this opportunity to
yes,
even speak to you on this platform without LinkedIn
yes,
as a place and a position where you can honestly build your personal brand. And also a space where I think is very underutilized by healthcare brands in general. Like I know that LinkedIn is still thought of as a recruiting platform, some place where you
yes,
you know showcase your personal achievements, but it's really not. If the right brand with the right leader with the right thought leader can get on a platform and share their point of views as consistently as you have. And I saw your follower count the other day, 22,000 followers. My God, it's quite an achievement. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like with the right combination and with the right guidance, many brands, even major hospitals, can take advantage of the growth
yes.
accelerator that LinkedIn is. But yeah, that's an interesting segue into the platform. But what I also wanted to ask you, we give all this advice to younger writers and younger marketers, and we can say this is your list of things that you should do, A, B, C, D, E. But now you've been in it for quite some time. Do you feel like there's any piece of your like old advice that you felt was, now when you look back, you say, okay, that was redundant, or that was maybe not the right
Hmm.
uh, point to make? And it could be because hindsight is 2020, right? I mean, like, you look behind and you say, okay, this is
Hmm.
obviously today's context, that was a wrong thing to say, but something that you learned along the way and you say, okay, that changed my perspective on this
Yes,
aspect.
yes, there are many things like this.
Yeah.
One thing would be so I had when I just started out, I had this perspective that there was only one way to go forward.
Yeah.
So the way that I had experienced, right? But when
Yeah.
I started talking with people in the industry, seniors who have been in the industry, like you have been in the industry for so long, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Other senior professionals who have been in the industry since decades, right?
Yeah.
So when I started talking, I realized that there are different perspectives of entering a field, of
Yeah.
growing in a field, and there is no one way of growing in a field. So the trajectory can look different for every individual out there.
Correct.
And my piece of advice might absolutely not make sense in your trajectory of
Yeah.
career. Even
Yeah.
if we are both medical writers, but the
Yeah.
way I am growing might
Yeah.
not be the exact way that you are growing. That is
Correct.
absolutely fine. So that was something that I learned along the way, that there
Hmm.
are different ways of growing,
Yeah.
and there are better ways of growing.
Hmm.
We need
Yes.
to talk with people, we need to observe people. So I think observation is a very underrated skill
Yeah.
as medical writers, for any professional for that matter. If we
Yeah.
are good observants, we
Yes.
naturally observe things which most people just ignore,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And that can make a lot of difference in anything that you do.
Agreed. Agreed. And when you see, like you said, there are people who are entering this career or changing careers at different stages in their lives, right? And I notice that right now you're building something that is very relevant to that space, which I find genuinely exciting, is this career reinvention program. So can you tell us a bit of about how you thought of it and what was the inspiration behind it?
Yes, so the career reinvention program was actually built out of a gap that I identified. Not only me, but I think most of us medical writers who are early career medical writers, if you just get in touch with them and talk with them, you will realize that they will point out to this gap that we don't have a proper structured roadmap, or there are too many options in front of us
Hmm.
and we are overwhelmed
Hmm.
which way to go. So
Yeah.
that was the gap which we are trying to fill in this career reinvention program. This is initially designed for women healthcare professionals,
Lovely.
Maybe as we go along, if we can make a sense out of it,
Hmm.
so maybe we will expand it to men, women, okay,
Yeah.
both of them. And the thing is, we are trying to provide a roadmap to women in their 30s, 40s, late 20s who have had career breaks or who have kind of moved from other professions, or they want to expand their career options, or they are just done with what they are doing right now, clinical options, and they want to move into some non-clinical roles.
Right.
So this program is kind of giving clarity and a roadmap for them to get started, and support them with the resources and the tools that they need to crack their first opportunity.
Exactly. Okay. That's amazing. That's really taking it from the grassroots level to, figuring it out and help again, as very much what you're known for is taking people through that transition, which is really important.
Yes, so I think we all have faced that transition. You have faced it, I have faced it. If we have moved from any other clinical role into medical writing, because medical writing for most of us is not our first
Yeah.
options. Like,
Yes.
it's an alternative option that we accidentally or somehow landed upon, right?
Yes.
So what if we actually had a structured roadmap to move into the field? And this particular program that I am trying to build will be based on some assessment, like strength assessment, weakness assessment, their skill assessment. So what aligns with that particular person, rather than randomly applying for all the roles that are open in front of us.
That's super important. I think the matching of skills to role is something that I'm seeing a huge gap in, especially when I'm also dealing with younger and younger professionals on huge teams when they're being hired for these positions. There is a definitive gap between the role that they and maybe that's something that they have to grow into, but I feel like the learning pains can be so much less if they had a way to bridge that gap more effectively, which I'm guessing that's, again, something that you're aiming to do with this. So that sounds fantastic, and I wish you all the best for the program that's coming up.
Thank you
um,
so much, Dr. Lakshmi. Thank you.
you know before we end, and I've come to an end to my endless questions, I think. But before we end, I would ask the audience, whoever's here, if you have any questions for Dr. Shatabdi, please put it in chat box below. We would love to check it out. Okay, sorry. Good afternoon. How are you? So, other than that, I did put this up on my Instagram channel before we did it, and I did ask if any of my audience at my followers there had any questions, and I think we can condense it. I kind of condensed it to really one takeaway question that I wanted from you, is that we know the hard skills, right? And maybe for the hard skills we have courses, we have different people that we can look at, we have LinkedIn posts, we have Instagram reels, we have places where people are giving these tips and tricks to get ahead in this line of work. But what I wanted from you is actually, what are the three top soft skills that people can cultivate to get ahead in this profession, essentially?
Okay, so I have only one soft skill that I would want
Yeah.
everyone to develop, and that is communication.
Uh, good
So
one.
whether it is written communication, verbal communication, doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
communicating to the right person at the right time with the right purpose on the right thing. That is the only thing that can help medical
Yeah.
writers, healthcare
Yeah.
marketers, editors, and every other people out there.
I couldn't have summed it up better myself. That is the crux of what we do. So,
Yes, true.
yeah. But I'm going to wait a minute. Is there anyone who
Yes.
has any questions that they want to type in on the chat? Um, let me see. Yeah. While we wait for the question, again, I do really want to thank you for agreeing to come on the first of this series. I'm hoping to host other people in the medical communications field people that are working actively across sections. Oh, we do have a question.
Yes.
And can a practicing doctor become a medical writer, and what are the skills required? Dr. Hiren Patel is asking.
Yes, so yes, absolutely. Even a practicing doctor can become a medical writer. So I started my medical writing journey when I was practicing. So you can do that, and that would be one of the good ways of starting off your journey rather than instantly jumping into medical writing and leaving your clinical practice just because one of my friends did that. So instead of doing that, please chalk out a plan that works for you, and if you think that doing your clinical practice along with that you will be able to give some hours or some time you can take out and start your medical writing journey, that would be a very good way of moving ahead.
Yeah, I second that. I think most of us, if you find uh, with our profiles that we've had definitely some sort of clinical training and experience, and due to various reasons, we've decided to make the shift. But yes, you can definitely do it. Even I did it the same way, did it side by side for a while. So definitely ways to do it. We have another question. Bhumika says, I'm a dentist mastering in hospital and health management. Can you suggest any organization for
I think
who are looking for medical writers? Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so Bhumika,
Yeah.
so welcome to the rental community first of all, because you are now ready to explore different non-clinical opportunities.
Okay.
And okay, you are a master in hospital and health management. So I think Dr. Lakshmi can answer this question better. Dr. Lakshmi, do you have
Yeah. So
organizations who are looking for medical right? I think we have, yes, Dr. Lakshmi.
yeah. So honestly, because I did, the reason why I'm saying this, Bhumika, is because while I did masters in pathology and I was a practicing pathologist for a long time, I've also done my MBA in hospital and healthcare management. So there are, especially if you're interested in marketing in general, because when you do a masters in management can also mean operations, and it can, and then marketing comes as a segue of that, right? So while the most rewarding aspect of it is that you have so many different industries that are open to you now. You can go into a pharma based role, you can go into a hospital marketing based role in a health chain, or you can even go with supplements or digital health tech. The avenues for you is a lot because the skill base is the same. You know how organizations work, you know how medical organizations work, and you know how to translate medical information into layman terms or for other doctors. That is the basis of how you present yourself and your offer. With that, you can apply to a whole host of companies that are available out there. Yeah.
Yes, and I think if she is asking for the names of the organizations, you can check out LinkedIn,
Yeah,
Indeed, Naukri,
all
all
of
these
them.
job portals. If you are looking for internships, you can look out for at Internshala. So I landed my first internship with Internshala, so it's a legit platform. So you
Yeah,
can explore that.
yeah, yeah, that's good. So Dr. Hiren is also asking, can YouTube presence improve clinical practice for an orthopedic surgeon? I'm asking for myself.
Yes, absolutely. So I think clinical practice today, everything is digital. Even before patients come to your clinic, they will search you out. Okay, they will try to understand how you work. They will try to have a picture or how your clinic looks like. Okay, how you talk, how you treat patients. Okay, they will try to understand these things. That is how the patient today looks like.
Yeah,
They are informed, right? So
yeah,
I think if you want to just be in the clinic and not build your digital presence, you might end up losing on a good number of patients.
mm,
So building your digital presence is a very important factor in growing and expanding your clinical practice. And YouTube is, of course, one of them. LinkedIn is one of them because different uh, type of audiences see these different kind of like they are on different kind of platforms. The
yeah,
audience who is on LinkedIn might not be on YouTube. The audience who is on YouTube might not be on Instagram. So it is a good idea to build a multi-channel presence for your digital presence for yourself. But
Yeah.
if you are overwhelmed, you can start with one platform.
I agree with you on that. I was just going to say that choose the one platform that's the lowest hanging fruit that you can stay consistent with. If you're comfortable in front of a camera and you want to make YouTube videos because you believe in long form content and you can't condense what you want to say in a 30-second reel or a 60-second reel, or you may not want to dance on Instagram, that can be a personal preference, right? I don't want to do a trending video and 30, 60 seconds, but I want to give a really long explanation to my patients. YouTube would be the best way to go about it. LinkedIn is actually very underrated for doctors. I believe a lot of doctors think that my patients are not going to be on there, but also there are people who are marketing managers of hospitals. People from pharma companies or even like health tech companies are a lot on there, and they are looking for experts to give expert talks, expert consultations in various specialties. So I've found a lot of companies who are looking on LinkedIn to see which doctors have that platform presence so that they can take advantage of that and get you on board as a consultant. So it may not expand your orthopedic practice as such, but it does give you the platform to interact with the broader healthcare industry outside your clinical practice. So if that's
True.
something that you're interested in looking at, that's where I would and also, sorry, because AEO and SEO is in my brain at the moment, I'm going to add to that and say any video that you make right now, whether it's on any platform, short form video or long form video, is going to get AI's attention, which is where your patients are going to be looking for the best orthopedic surgeon in their area or whatever. So any type of digital presence that you have right now in video is going to help you anyway with the way search is going.
True. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've gone beyond that time, so I'm sure I'm going to get a call from Manthan anytime soon. So, but this is, surprising. Thank you again for giving you your time for this, and I look forward to the next time we meet. Thank you, everyone who participated. Thank you for your time. A link for this webinar will be available on all our YouTube channels as well. So if you missed it, then you can catch it there. But until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. Bye.
Bye.